This is Hoops Junkie. This is one video, part one of a series where I'm just going to defend Jordan against LeBron. And this isn't anti LeBron, but as you'll see, it's just a defense of what's right and true. And anybody who doesn't see this, LeBron fans, you're a little bit out of your mind. I always tell people, look, LeBron's like a saint. He's like Saint Francis. And it's nice to pray to him, to worship him, but if you put him above Jesus, you're committing blasphemy. You're an heir. You're not going to go to basketball heaven. You're sinning. Jordan is the Messiah. Don't put a saint, a very good player, above him. And there's a lot of reasons. Again, this is just part one of a series that could possibly be a 1,000-part series. That's how much better Jordan is than LeBron and everybody else you're comparing him to. You can't use these old guys like Bill Russell. Everybody knows the league was terrible. Nobody wants to say it. Go watch the footage. I have friends who played D3 ball that could have been in the NBA back then. It's not a knock on them, but it's just the truth. Since the early 80s, you've really seen the game kind of come into the modern era. So everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. And most of the guys who played in the 80s could definitely 100% play today and be successful. I don't think so in the 70s and 60s. I think there's very few. But this, again, is maybe a one part of, I don't know how many parts I'm going to make just when I have time. But I'm kind of looking at some X factors today. And let's start with number one. X factors that Jordan has and LeBron doesn't. Number one, Jordan was the most clutch player ever. Now, I know you see these stupid, and then they're just stupid articles on ESPN where they try to tell you that LeBron is as clutch as Jordan. It is insane. I mean, it's just insane. Google this. LeBron just Google it, please. Pause it, Google it, and come back. In the last 5 seconds of games when you can make a winning shot or a tying shot to go into overtime, this is through 2015, I believe, LeBron was 5 for 47. Okay, and then go watch every one of LeBron James's game winners. Most of them are layups. Okay, most of them are layups, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I'm not bashing LeBron. I'm comparing a saint to God. I'm sure Saint Francis did some great things. He did something with a wolf and, did walk through fire. Great. Jesus did countless miracles, it says in the Bible. And that's the difference between LeBron and Jordan. Jordan is also the most clutch. Again, we're talking X factors here, even though I'm throwing in some statistics. Nobody had more pressure on them at the end of games than Michael Jordan. He's the greatest player of all time, and he hits his last shot to win his sixth championship. Everybody knew he was getting the ball. Everybody knew he was going to shoot the ball. And everybody knew he was going to make it, and he did. When someone lives up to the hype, you have to respect that, and very few people do. LeBron hits a game winner, you're just kind of surprised. When Jordan hit it, you're like, oh, that makes sense. The universe is right. Newton's laws are in order. Second, watch this video that's playing now. It's my favorite Jordan video, and it's gracefulness. The number of iconic plays, dunks, layups, block shots Jordan has compared to LeBron, exponentially more. Just exponentially more. And more beautiful. Aesthetics matter. Style matter. Jordan was a ballerina. I mean, he was balletic. He was out. He could have been a ballerina. LeBron, it's not a knock on him, but he kind of looks like a transformer. To me, he's like a big John Stockton. I mean, their forms both kind of ugly. Great passers, hit the passing lane, smart, high IQ. But to me, watching listen, if you got the NBA Finals on, or okay, let's not go to the Finals, but you got a regular LeBron James game on, and you got Jordan highlights on the other channel, I'm going to spend most of my time on the Jordan highlights rather than watching LeBron James live. Third, I know some people doesn't mean anything, but think about the number of games and stories you've heard about Jordan. Like when I say games, I mean how many games he has nicknamed. The flu game, the UNC shot, LeBradford Smith, the Cavs, the first game against Elo, the Cavs, the second game, the Van Gundy game, the George Carlin game, the double nickel game. There's also not one bad game you can think of, really, in his entire playoff series. Not one bad series in his however many years in the league. Not one bad finals performances. And how many games does LeBron have named after him? I give him that Boston game. That was amazing. He played great. Even, 3 years ago against the Warriors, those first 3 games of the series. But, if Jordan had seen what he could do in those first 3 games of a series, he would have kept going after the Warriors. And then in game 4 of that in 3 years ago when they played, he just kind of pulled up. I never saw Jordan do that. But just think, how many incredible stories there are about Jordan, like ex-players, what they've told about him. Like who's going to check me tonight? He's playing Steve Smith and he starts counting back from 42. There's just a level of confidence that you see in Jordan that you just don't see in LeBron. Number 4, the IQ and fundamentals. No doubt LeBron has a high IQ, but are we kidding with Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan ran the triangle offense, the most complex offense in the history of the NBA, and ran it to a T and knew everybody's position. So his IQ was off the charts. He was taught by Dean Smith at UNC and Phil Jackson. It's great coaching. And, maybe somebody will say LeBron didn't have he was around Pat Riley, okay? And to act like LeBron doesn't have the best help in the offseason is a little bit crazy. LeBron has all the help he could want as far as coaching goes, and Jordan's winning regardless of what he plays in, but he had a high basketball IQ. And if you've ever been to a basketball camp, first thing I noticed when I came back when I was younger, I was at like 5-star, they tell you how to throw chest passes, thumbs up to thumbs down, how to kind of wet dog, they call it, rebounds, your spacing. Watch Jordan. It's perfect. He's perfectly, soundly fundamental. LeBron, pretty good too, but if they're equal, the edge goes to Jordan because he did every single thing. And the other thing about the high IQ, which people forget, is Jordan could turn off the high IQ. LeBron overthinks the game. Passing to Kyle Korver in the corner when you are 8 feet from the rim is inexcusable when you're the best player on the planet. They keep saying he's not a shooter. What else does he have to practice? They said Jordan wasn't a shooter either when he came in the league, but he worked on it and got better. Why doesn't LeBron go to the post? Because the dude can't shoot a fadeaway to save his life. I mean, occasionally he does that one leg thing and it goes in, but it's just, they say LeBron can't shoot. What else does he have to practice, for God's sakes? Number 5. People constantly forget this. Jordan won the scoring title 10 times, okay? You might think, oh, well, whatever. He won it 6 times, and he also won the championship that year, and people said that was impossible for a guard to do. There's been 4 players in NBA history who've done that. Number 1 was, it's not even George Mikan. George Mikan was one of them. In 1947, some guy named Fulks, Fulks, go ahead and look it up. I don't even know who he is. Jabbar did it once, and Shaquille O'Neal. So you have these centers doing it. They said a guard couldn't do that and win an NBA championship. Jordan did it 6 times. Okay, crazy. Number 6, what he could do when he was sick and injured. I'm not talking about the flu game. I'm talking about his time as a Washington Wizard. And I think you could make a case that Jordan's years as a Wizard is when he was at his best. I know that sounds ridiculous. The only reason I say that is he had a mangled finger on his shooting hand, right? He cut it with a cigar cutter. He was playing on basically one leg. His knee was very wobbly. He changed position, and he put on weight. I mean, at 40 years old, he dropped 51, I think, against Ron Artest. Go and watch that game. That's Ron Artest, and this dude's abusing him at, 41 years old or something. Look at Kobe at 37, how he was just, totally falling apart. Now, I know Jordan didn't have an Achilles injury, but still, you see what time does. Number 7, fear versus respect. MJ genuinely inspired fear in his competitors. I think people respect LeBron. KD was not intimidated at all by LeBron. Jordan intimidated people. There's a story that Clyde Drexler, some people were saying, this was the last time this conversation ever came up, that Clyde and MJ were about the same level. And during the summer, they were playing in Barcelona, and Magic Johnson said Jordan hounded Drexler so bad that Magic had to pull Michael aside and say, calm down, you're ruining Clyde Drexler's confidence. You're ruining him. Okay, players feared Jordan. They respect LeBron, but they sure don't fear him, and that's the truth. Speaking of the Clyde Drexler top spot thing, nobody ever really challenged Jordan as the best in the league, and you've seen this in LeBron's career several times. I mean, last year, most people are saying Curry was the better player. And you want to talk about, oh, well, LeBron's always an underdog when he goes into these things. The reason LeBron's an underdog is because he doesn't push himself in the regular season. Okay? He just doesn't, and his teams don't get 70 wins, and then he goes into the playoffs. And when he gets in the playoffs, he's an underdog because he kind of coasts through the regular season. If he put the pedal to the metal in the regular season, this guy would be the favorite. He wouldn't be the underdog. I mean, just end of story. He's an underdog because he coasts. Number 9. Jordan was scared to lose, but he didn't care what people thought of him. LeBron isn't scared to lose. He doesn't want to lose, but he isn't scared to lose, and he does care what people think about him. A loss to LeBron is just basketball, and he said as much. A loss to MJ was humiliating. It was his life. Their psychologies are completely different. And maybe if LeBron was a little bit more petrified to lose, well, maybe he wouldn't lose as often. Maybe he'd have that clutch gene. What is the clutch gene? It's probably being scared to lose. So when you're in the gym, you go harder and harder and harder. And in your mind, you're getting more and more realistic game situations. And then when you're out of the gym, you're visualizing more and more because you want to practice nonstop. Number 10, nobody really wants to play like LeBron James. I mean, I know a few guys that come to the gym and think they're LeBron, but not like when I was growing up. Everybody wanted to play like Jordan. Put it this way, if Jordan would have wore a headband, you would have wanted to own stock in headbands. Everybody would have wore them. Whatever Jordan did, people were doing. LeBron has some influence, but he doesn't have the cultural influence. And when you're talking about greatest of all time, it goes even beyond basketball, because not beyond basketball, but it goes into how people play the game, how they try to play. Curry has that. LeBron doesn't. In the same way Shaq doesn't. Nobody wanted to play like Shaq unless you're playing pool basketball, and just dunk it on your friends' heads. Anyways, to wrap up in this part 1 of many more to come, MJ is like Christ. LeBron is a Saint Francis, so I'm not really knocking him. But people who worship LeBron are worshiping a false god, even though he might be a saint. Don't put him above the Messiah.